Hey guys, this is the Auto Enthusiast, and today we're going to talk a little bit about tires. We're going to take a look at what winter tires are, what summer tires are, and what makes them different. The most important part of how a tire performs is actually the temperature of the environment that it's performing in. Primarily, the most important thing that makes up the difference between a winter and summer tire, and the all-season is in between, is the compound in which the tire is actually made of. Primarily, what makes a winter tire different is that the compound it's made of it remains flexible, or rather flexible, at lower temperatures, where a summer tire remains more firm and almost stickier at higher temperatures. And the all-season tire is somewhere in between those characteristics. And that temperature that the compound, they're not made out of the same compound, but the temperature that the compound has those traits is actually determined by something called the glass transition temperature. What it does is it governs how the molecules within the compound or the tire move, how freely they move or how not so freely they move. Basically, when you're looking at a tire or the actual compound, if you look at like a block of the molecules, the more freely those molecules are moving within the tire, whatever constraint that block of molecules is being held by, the more freely they move inside that, the more friction that is going to experience. So when you're looking at a tire, right, and the more the molecules can freely move, the more friction it's going to create with the road. At a lower temperature, which is the glass transition temperature, molecules actually move less freely. So at a higher temperature, they move more freely. So as at a lower temperature, when they move less freely, the compounds usually take a more plastic form. That's one of their attributes. You can conclude that the glass transition temperature of the winter tires is lower than that of the summer tires, and which allows it to have a more plasticky state at lower temperatures and maintains the tire's ability to perform at that lower temperature, where summer tires don't have the same ability to perform. One thing to consider when we're looking at the tires just from a temperature standpoint with the actual compounds that make them is that a winter tire might not necessarily perform better in rain. So in a summer condition, if you're driving and it's raining out and you've got one car with winter tires and one car with summer tires, it's not all about the actual build of the tire. A lot of people will think, oh, if the winter tire has more, slots or grooves, it's going to have actually more traction. But one important thing to think about is what temperature is outside, because that's what's really going to govern the performance and attributes of the actual tire and the compound is made of. So, you can have a summer tire which has a higher glass transition temperature, and if it's higher temperature outside, the molecules will actually move more freely, and it will have higher friction. So, if it's a summer day and it's raining, the summer tire might actually outperform the winter tire, and it has more to do with the temperature and how that coincides with the friction characteristics of the compound the tire is made of, and less of the actual build and how the tire is slotted and grooved. More onto the physical traits that we actually see as consumers between our winter and summer tires. I'm not really talking about the all-seasons, because the all-seasons, they just try to make a perfect combination of the two. They steal some of the attributes from the higher temperature end summer tires and some from the winter tires and combine it so that you have a more year-round basis. However, so for the physical traits that we see in the winter tires will actually have deeper grooves, or what we'll call tread blocks, and more of them. One of the ideologies behind having deeper tread blocks is that as you're driving over snow, it can actually compact them with snow, and snow-to-snow traction is actually pretty good. One downside to having these thicker tread blocks is that the tire is thicker, and there's a lot more rubber hanging out, and a lot more rubber to bend, or whatever compound the tire is made out of. Having more rubber and this ability to bend makes the tire less stiff. Basically, the stiffer the tire, the more sensory input you're getting from the road and what's happening. And when you're driving with heavy winter tires, you've got such thick tread blocks and so many grooves and slots and peaks. And once you have that and you've got all that, you're getting less from the road because there's more give, there's more cushion. It's almost like another set of shocks. Another thing that winter tires have are called sipes, and they are slotted, usually curved grooves that run horizontally across the tire and not along the curvature. What sipes do, and one reason they're zigzags, is because it helps maintain the structural integrity of each elongated tread block. If you have a straight line that's less, it's less stiff, it's less structurally intact. What sipes do basically is they create another slot basically for snow to compact, but they also create another surface in which friction, if you're driving in deep snow, it's another thing to catch. It's another surface where snow can get compacted in, and it can actually catch and create pull, which is a force going backwards. Again, the deeper the tread block and the more sipes, the more tire you have in reacting to the ground, and the less stiff the winter tire is, and then you get less and less feel out of it. That's why a lot of people love their summer tires, and they love really stiff and relatively thin summer tires with very few treads, but they, because it gives you so much information from the road, they're a lot of fun to drive on. You can create a summer tire exactly to what you want to see out of a hard, flat surface in warmer temperatures. Now, to address what type of tire you want, for those who are watching this to figure out what they're looking for, I tend to stay away, and I do not recommend getting all seasons. All seasons are great if you're dealing with non or barely freezing temperatures and not too hot summers. But again, it's a mixture of both tires. Obviously, it's an investment to buy both. Tires aren't cheap, and you have to have 4 of each, obviously, unless you've got 6 tires or 5 tires, or who knows what you're driving. Something that's important to think about is if you want to stay safe on the road, it's important to have your car perform the way you want it in certain conditions. Hey guys, I hope you liked the video. Again, it would help the channel if you subscribe, like the video. If you have any comments, please list them below. I'd love to hear your feedback, what you have to say, your experiences, and if you want me to make any other type of videos. Let me know what you want to see.